My favorite Survivor player would have to be, I would have to say Cirie Fields, because I mean, she's just a queen. Like she's so deserving of a win at this point. I don't know if she'll ever come back, but she's just a social queen. Like, who do you know that can convince a person, a young man like Eric, who's clearly competitive, to give up his immunity necklace to somebody else? Like that's just social strategy. That's just social finesse. Like, and she calls herself a gangster in an Oprah suit. I want to go out there and be a gangster in like a Steve Harvey suit. You know what I'm saying? I want to do a lot of what she did. Of course, my game is going to be a little bit unprecedented because I'm one of a kind. But I love just Cirie's ability to be social and strategic and still kind of smile while she's stabbing you in the back. So I love Cirie.
Cirie. I think she just plays with such grace, and she's such a mastermind, and she's just powerful. Like, I think, you know, the thing that she always says, you know, she's like, I was the couch potato, like I got off the couch. And so I think she's just so powerful for just being like, yeah, like I can, you know, do Survivor, I can do anything. And she's just such an inspiration, especially as a Black woman, and just like the way that she navigated the game. And if I can like play with like Cirie's grace and just power, like I will be so happy.
Cirie, how many days of Survivor have you played now?
Not enough.
My favorite Survivor player ever is definitely Kim Spradlin. I think that she completely owned the whole season. Her gameplay was pretty much flawless, and she kind of ran everything going on in that season without people even realizing that she was doing it. And I think that's just the best way you could play the game.
I'll start at the beginning with Tina. She was season 2. That was the season that I got hooked. And I loved, she's kind of one of the reasons why I'm here, because I saw her and I thought, well, goodness, if she can do it, I can get out there and give it a try. I thought that she used being a mom and all those things to her benefit, and it worked. One of the cutest ones, I think, is Malcolm. But I mean, you know, who doesn't think he's cute? So I might be 52 years old and married, but I'm not blind.
Malcolm's my favorite player just because growing up, everybody looked up to him. Like he's good at challenges. He finds idols. He plays them in innovative ways. He's a great strategic player, a great social player. And like, he's got the sauce, you know, he's just dope.
I have so many favorite Survivor players, but I think maybe the most similar to me, I assume, is going to be Natalie. She just has such a strength about her, and especially from her first season where she started out really slow with showing her strength, showing that she was such a beast in challenges. I think that's how I want to do this game. I don't want to show them too big of a threat at the beginning, and I just really appreciate her game, how methodical she is with her moves. She's just overall really awesome to watch.
Mr. Philip Shepard. He was so authentic. He's a real person. You can see when he gets angry, he gets angry. When he was real, going around with his orange underwear, holding a stick, trying to get a crab, you know, and of course, while being security for Boston Rob. So I really enjoyed it. He's authentic. I like that.
Well, hell will have no fury, like a lion or a gorilla, when he thinks he's been provoked.
I love that openness of a Richard Hatch. I come from a military background like Rudy. I love that swagger of Boston Rob, but I love that aggression of James. So I'm like a multitude of different type of characters, and that's what I'm gonna bring to the game.
My favorite Survivor player is Russell Hantz, hands down. I have to let the world know, because he is unapologetically himself. I love anybody who's himself, even if they're like the biggest brat in the world, the biggest asshole, like Russell. As long as they can own it, I appreciate you. And he was hilarious.
If you ain't with me, you against me.
Probably a mix between Cass and Russell. The reason for that is because Russell played his heart out. He made relationships. He rotated among those relationships. He did whatever it took in order to stay in the game. Obviously, he had a fault with the social game in the sense that he didn't manage that appropriately, but he was always digging himself out of a hole. He was always reworking his situation, and he never gave up. Cass, she tells it how it is. She gives you the blunt in her confessionals, and that's what I love. Someone that can just shoot straight.
Jeremy. It was a tough race between him and Russell Hantz, but Jeremy was able to kind of maneuver and use people as shields to get himself to the end, and then he ended up finding a lot of advantages that pushed him forward in the game. So I'm hoping to do the same.
Coach. I love Coach because he's so unapologetically himself. And if you're going to be anyone in this world, I think you should be yourself.
All-time favorite Survivor player is Todd from Survivor China. I love Survivor China. And what I love about Todd is I think that, like me, when you see Todd, you know, he's a smaller player, probably doesn't look as physical as the other players. On paper, there's probably no reason to think that he's going to be able to win, but he's able to build those relationships that allow him to make the moves he needs to, that allow him to understand the people around him so he can figure out how to maneuver and manipulate. And then in the end, after betraying so many people, he was able to just fully take ownership for everything he did and win the game. And I really hope that even if I can have a bit of Todd's game in my game, I'll be so happy and so proud of myself.
Queen Parvati, she's so incredible. Like for me, all the best seasons are the ones where women kind of take down arrogant men. And, you know, she did that twice, even though she didn't pull out the win in Heroes Villains. And I absolutely love Sandra too. I snuck in a second one as well. Love all the queens. But Parvati just has an amazing ability. And I think when people think about Parvati, they mostly think about her ability with men. But I also think the way, you know, if you think about in Micronesia, the way she was able to bring in the women and really make it so that there was never a risk of anyone wanting to vote her out because they just like loved her so much. That is a magical power.
I think Zeke is definitely the top 5 players. He was so good at the game. He was good at everything. He was good at puzzles. He was good at challenges. Socially, I mean, people drew rocks for him, like willingly.
I really, really loved Adam. And I think because I can relate to him, you know, I was young when I lost my mom to ovarian cancer. I was 15 and I was like 14 when she got sick. And, you know, I saw his pain and that he's young and, you know, how much hurt he was having. And I think I was able to identify with that. So I think on a personal level, I really related to him. So I would say he was one of my favorite players.
It's easy. It's Ozzy. I love Ozzy. Man, I love his passion. And fact of the matter is, I am kind of a Johnny-come-lately to Survivor. It was just 2 years ago that my daughter was at a business convention, and the keynote speaker was Holly from season 21. And so my daughter came home after that convention, and she said, "Dad, I got to meet Holly from Survivor. Why don't we ever watch Survivor?" I'm like, "Well, because we don't really watch a lot of TV, but we sure can." So we watched season 21 and loved it, right? It's like, "Oh, I love it. This is a great show." So then we watched the next one, and Ozzy was on that one. And when Ozzy went through the season and he lost it in kind of a heart-wrenching way, and you could tell his passion was just boiled up inside. And he's like, "I love this game, but I didn't quite get it done." And I just saw that and I'm like, "Oh man, I kind of want what he has right there, man." That feeling inside, that passion, it just moved me inside. And so right then at the end of the reunion show, Jeff comes on and saying, "Hey, if you think you got what it takes, send in your audition tape because I'd love to snuff your torch." And I'm like, "Whoa, this is still a thing, right?" Because I'm just watching season 22 out of 40. And so I sent in the audition tape. And so it's all because of Holly and Ozzy that I'm here.
It's going to be Sandra. But if she's the queen, then I'm the princess. That's what I'm claiming.
Everybody loves me, Jeff. What can I tell you?
I love her because she was absolutely who she was in the game, as she is in real life. And I feel like she just embodies what I want to be in the game. Not that I'll play the same game as Sandra, but I just respect her so much because she just didn't change who she was. She was unapologetically herself. If that meant that she spoke her mind in an instant, if that meant that she was telling someone off or playing mind games or manipulating, like she was doing that, or if she was sitting out in a challenge, she was doing that. And she wasn't afraid to be herself. And ultimately that took her to the end 2 times in a row. Not in a row, but 2 times.